my relation to China is like I read sometime there was a professor who went to China, and the press said, "When did you come here?" He said, "Yesterday." He said, "How long are you staying?" "Today." "When are you leaving?" "Tomorrow." "What are you doing?" "I'm writing a book. It's called China: Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow." That's who we are. But I did go over there and I did talk to some students at Tsinghua, yes. And there are about 600 of them, and they speak English, and it's like talking to a group in Texas. There's no problem with understanding what the concepts are, how the system works here, pretty well. And you got exactly the same question in the first part of your book, just what you said, and exactly what they said. The first question is, yeah, but how do we get from here to there? To which my response is, I don't know. That is a problem for you to solve. I can't do it. I can tell you some things about the United States, and you have to take them insofar as they're relevant. And so what is it that they seem to be interested in, and what they're interested in the magazine? First, of course, which is so obvious, do you think we don't have these problems? Do you think that this rule of law has been given on day one, and suddenly it was followed? Of course not. Of course the problems and don't think democracy will solve them. It's a step on the way, but it's not also, it's both your friend and your enemy. And so let me say what I mean in a little more detail. Hamilton, this is the document, okay? Hamilton and Madison write this document with some others. And it's a very good document. If you ask any of us on the court, any of us will be absolutely in agreement on the basic things it does. And it isn't one thing, and it isn't a million. But the basic framework is it creates institutions of democracy so that people can decide for themselves through their representatives what kinds of communities they want. But it is a special kind of democracy. It is a democracy that protects certain basic human rights, that assures some degree of equality, that has what you've called separation of powers. That is not what you're looking for here. You're looking for judicial independence, which is different. Separation of powers is, and what I liked about his book very much when I read these pages, he's very clear and he has precise notions and he makes these distinctions. The separation of powers is both vertical, state, federal, and it is also horizontal, 3 branches. But the basic function of separation of powers is not to preserve a rule of law. It's to divide power into pockets. And by dividing power into pockets, you prevent any group of people in the government from being too powerful. That's the basic purpose. And finally, a rule of law. So you've got a document here that is trying to assure democratic institutions, but with protection of basic human rights, assuring a degree of equality, separating power horizontally, vertically, so no one becomes too powerful, and guaranteeing a rule of law. Now, Hamilton is the one who in Federalist 78 brings in the courts, because he's trying to answer a question. He says, we've written a beautiful document. He doesn't read 78, read Federalist 78, absolutely worth reading. He says, we've created a beautiful document. He doesn't say it quite in these words, I'm parodying it slightly. But he says, we've created a beautiful document. But if nobody follows the rules, these are the ground rules. And if there's no one to say when somebody in the government strays outside the boundaries here, we should just hang it up in a museum, put it in the National Gallery. He actually did not say National Gallery because it wasn't built then. But nonetheless, you get the point. He says somebody has to have the power to say when the others have gone too far. Well, who should that be? The president? He's already too powerful. He'll just say whatever he does is right. Congress? Yeah, they're elected. But wait a minute. They are experts in popularity. Believe me, they know popularity. If they did not, they would not be where they are. Now, this document gives the same rights and protections exactly to the least popular person in the United States as to the most popular. So you're not going to get them to do it often when it's a question of the least popular. That leaves the judges. And if you read 78, it's not that he thought the judges were so wonderful. What he thought was that's the best choice available. So we will give them the power. Who are they? We don't know. Perfect. Nobody knows their name. Wonderful. They are not egomaniacs yet. They are sort of gray, bureaucratic types, and they do not have the power of the purse, and they do not have the power of the sword.